Well, a very good morning to you all once again from above the start-finish line at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. This is DriverSeye Live, the North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com. I'm Brendan Kazmarek, joined as always by Joseph Mudrock. Hello, Joseph.
Morning, Brendan.
That was the fakest yawn I've ever seen. Terrible. Tanner Johnson also up in the Great White North. Our producer this weekend, Dustin Hodges from Right Turn Racing TV, and of course, the Formula 1000 Series is will be joining us from the pit lane a little bit later today and hosting our podium ceremonies after the race this afternoon. But before we can do that, we must qualify. This is qualifying 2 for the weekend for round 4 of the North American Formula 1000 Championship, and I know it's a little early, but happy to have everybody along this morning. Joseph. We've done this once already.
Oh, okay. I thought you were expecting me to have something ready.
Nope.
I don't.
Nope. We did this once already yesterday. Pretty decent conditions, but that was right around lunchtime. This is first session of the day. Little dirty track. It's cool. It's windy again. And I mean, what is that? What is that going to mean? As our 7 Intrepid, 8 Intrepid, we got a new car today.
Is it a Dodge Intrepid?
It is not. It is painted like one, though, before our 8 Intrepid Formula 1000 cars head out on track to qualify. What does that mean? Cold and wind, Joseph.
Well, the conditions are going to be different, like I mentioned Saturday.
Constantly.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be... It's not obvious what it's going to mean because it's going to be dependent on tire compounds. Some compounds really work well when it's cold outside. Some really don't. So it's going to be a question of whether, we'll see from the lap times what direction they go and whether or not we have full course yellows that or black flag alls that interrupt the session. For sure, it'll be a different feeling in those cars, and it will also be a different feeling from later not this afternoon quite, but later on in the day. When we could be getting up into the upper 70s and 80s.
Yeah, that'll be the real challenge, I think. It may be not so much different from what we saw yesterday for qualifying, because the ambient temperature really is only probably 10 degrees different. But I think a dirty track from the wind, a lot of wind overnight, will have blown a lot of dust and detritus onto the circuit without having another series to sort of sweep off beforehand. That's the Atlantic and Formula 1000's role this morning. The wind isn't going to do anybody any favors. We saw that yesterday. And like you said, more than anything, we're going to be up into the high 70s later this afternoon, which means the experience you have on track this morning, getting everything up to temperature, may not be anything remotely like what happens when you go to send it for our 35-minute race this afternoon. Like we mentioned, the Atlantics are sharing track time with the Formula 1000s. They've headed out first. And then the 1000cc Superbike engines, the greatest sound in motorsports, is they've headed out just behind them a couple of seconds to start their qualifying runs for race 4.
Well, the one thing that is going to be a little different with this session compared to yesterday's is yesterday was basically acting as also the first free practice. It was the first session that these guys had at this track.
Certainly the first meaningful session.
Right,
yeah.
right, in clear-ish conditions. Here, everybody should be more or less up to speed. They've got a qualifying session under their 30-minute qualifying session under their belt, a 30-minute, well, slightly less than 30-minute race session. After that was curtailed for an accident in turn 1 yesterday. But yeah, they've got more or less 2 sessions of running under their belt, so they're not coming in as green as they were yesterday.
No, and the running they got during the race yesterday will have given a lot of drivers the opportunity to feel out what the car is like at the limit. And like we said, with the ambient temperature being reasonably close to what it was yesterday afternoon, if anybody's going to go for a quick time this weekend, we know Alex sort of promised us a 19. Alex Mayer, the number 77 JDR.
He's not going to get it on this lap.
No, a lot of traffic there. But we do know he's promised us a 19. I think if it's going to come in this session. And my guess is it'll probably be towards the end of this, get a little heat into the cars and into the track and sort of sweep things off this morning. They did send the sweepers out first thing, by the way, while I was setting up cameras. They had the full track covered in sweepers and dryers.
They've also mowed a lot of the trackside.
They did.
Which is, I mean, kind of neither here nor there. But the track will look a little different if you are trackside. It's slightly less dandelion.
It's very green.
Marked. It is quite green.
Yeah.
Compared to some weekends that I've been here, extremely green.
Very green, yeah. So we'll wait for some times to come in this morning. Alex Mayer, last time was a 2:05. That will obviously have been his out lap, and probably 2 to 3 laps for 1000s to build a little temperature in these cars. We saw yesterday you sort of wind up to it. Maybe you drop in a 24, a couple of 24s, a 22, and then really start pushing 21. And if the 20 is available, you can drop that, once you get, a little later into the session. We did also see, of course, yesterday, even though it was a little longer, we've got 25 minutes this morning. You can make 2 or 3 runs at it. Go out, do a couple of laps, come in, make an adjustment, and then go out and send it for another run, assuming you don't have to deal with any black flags or yellow flags out on the circuit.
Right, and that was the next point I was going to make, is that as Alex starts what should be his first real flying lap in earnest, that was only a 1:34, so really not at speed on board with Alex Mayer.
Yeah, he's not up to temperature yet. You saw the brake and the downshift for turn 1. On a clean lap, that won't be the case. On the run up to turn 2, no chicane this weekend, into the braking zone, steeply uphill. Yeah, you can see he's still very much building temperature into the tires, getting the car up to pace, and feeling the track conditions out this morning for all the differences we saw yesterday.
And I think that's going
to...
Yeah, and I think that's going to be key. Is he's not just feeling out. It's the same sort of thing as bouncing a ball before a free throw, right? Like, you're just getting a feel for things right now, and you're just making sure that everything feels right, and everything is, you're just getting reacquainted with how the car responds to your inputs.
Yeah, and there are real sensations there. You chuck the car into the corner, you're going to feel it slide from under your backside before the steering even goes light. And like you said, getting reacquainted with the car, and even if, it reacts more or less the same way every time you're on board, every session is going to be a little bit different. And a good driver, an especially good driver like Alex Mayer is, like Shane Prieto is, like Nico Vardis and the other drivers in the Formula 1000 Championship, but especially those at the top, they can feel those little differences in the track and in the conditions. And, that's what makes them so talented and so good at what they do. So we'll wait to see these times come through. Alex Mayer currently has a quick time of 1:30.599.
No, you were right the first time. Riley Harris. It is Riley 30.2.
I need to understand Race Monitor better here.
Good luck.
That's what I need to do. 1:30.2, then Alex and Nico. So we're 10 seconds off where we think we could be for qualifying here.
Yeah, and it's a little curious. It's not quite what I expected. I kind of thought we'd be up to speed a little more quickly. This almost feels like greasy track running, in terms of pace. So clearly we're not confident in the car, and we're not confident in our tires yet at this point in qualifying.
Yeah.
Even the Atlantic, it's not just the F1000, but the Atlantics are some 8 seconds off of the times that they were putting in at the end of Q1 yesterday.
Yeah, the Atlantics, you'd think they'd build a little more heat. They've got bigger tires, but you're still, it's a heavier car, a little more power. You can inject a little more heat into the rear tires, especially a little more quickly. The F1000's very narrow tires. Okay, the car's got decent power, but it only weighs 800 pounds. So to work any amount of heat into the tires, you've got to get, the speed going. To get the speed going, you've got to get the downforce going. So you're in sort of this catch-22 to start building the speed of the car up, and it's going to take, we're already 6 minutes into the session here, 7.5 minutes into the session as I look over at Race Monitor, and just really not anywhere near yet. No. Even the Atlantic's Charlie Peters on pole right now at a 1:24.7. Alex Mayer just set his quickest lap at 1:27 flat.
Yeah, and I think building speed is the right term. We've got people in the carousel kind of tripping over each other still. So
yeah, that was Nico Vardis just getting past the number 31 of John Willamy on the outside of turn 13.
Yeah,
where there's not a whole lot of grip anyway.
It's curious, Brendan. You've been around most of the track. I assume it doesn't look greasy. Doesn't look like we've got dew or anything that needs to be burned off or anything.
No, it's not been bad. Like I said, the sweepers were out this morning, so I think they knew there was going to be a lot of of gunk blowing around, and of course we, like Joseph mentioned, they were out cutting the grass yesterday, trackside, within minutes of the checkered flag falling on the F1000 Atlantic race that we covered yesterday afternoon, and so I think they knew there was going to be some work to do, but sweepers and blowers will only get you so far. Race cars out on track, building temperature into the tires, as they deposit rubber, that'll cover up the side of the track, but that's scrubbing that detritus off the surface of the track, and that makes a difference as well. On board Alex Mayer as he comes across the start-finish line, a couple of seconds behind reality, but nevertheless, I think we're getting a little closer. You see no down to turn one, just a dab of the brakes, set the nose of the car, and then turn it in, and still building that confidence in what the tires are telling him through the steering wheel, what his seat is telling him as he turns in and gets on the brakes, and all of the forces that the car is going to throw at him, both through the wheel and like I said, through the seat. Into the pits, the 31 of John Willamy, and the 39, who is
Thomas
Cadwalder. Yeah, so I think I called him yesterday during the Formula 2000 race. We had sort of recorded on the side here just for a little practice. I found out this morning he was in an F2000 yesterday, had some car trouble, and that was the end of it. So he was looking for a way to salvage the weekend, went down to Arrive Drive Motorsports, paddock right across from the F1000 Hospitalities tent, and struck a deal to hop in the JDR chassis this morning. So this will be his first time out in that car this weekend, actually. He's already down to a 135 flat, which under normal conditions wouldn't be super competitive, but at the moment has got him 6th. Which is not a bad way to start your first session.
Yeah, Alex Mayer. Now we're into the 124, so we're still about what we were promised a 19 at some point, right? We do. I've just noticed something. We've got a slippery surface flag here at the exit of the carousel.
Very interesting.
And I don't see that anywhere else. So that's not a track-wide slippery surface flag.
No, let's clarify that, because it's a surface condition flag, which is not necessarily to say that there's a liquid on the surface or some kind of
it could be a solid
lack of grip. Exactly, right? There may be a small piece of debris. Now, something large that would pose a real hazard would be a waving yellow. But so, if there was a solid, it's been kicked off track. If there was a liquid, it's dissipated. You wouldn't expect it to be fuel, would you?
No.
Not for a qualifying session.
And I wouldn't have expected to sublimate it either.
It's very true. On board the JDR chassis of Shane Prieto, the number 43. Our third-place finisher yesterday had a fantastic scrap with Nico Vardis through the middle section of the race that unfortunately the battle didn't get curtailed. That was pretty much done and dusted by the time we went double yellow towards the end of the race. But we were a little bit robbed of watching Nico Vardis try to chase down Alex Mayer for the win. But these two certainly delivered, did the 43 of Prieto, the number 00 of Nico Vardis. Currently 3rd and 4th, respectively. Riley Harris is the one who's made some progress this morning. The number 12 actually just gets displaced by Shane Prieto in the number 43, who in about 10 seconds here on your screen is going to come across the line and complete the lap.
Yeah, Riley Harris had elevated himself from
Vardis.
From 4th up to 2nd. He's since been displaced by both Prieto and Vardis in that order.
Has just done it as well. Yeah. So low 24s for our top 3. Currently, actually, the top 3 separated by a quarter of a second. Mayer from Prieto is almost exactly 2/10, and less than a tenth of a second between Prieto and Vardis. A 124.203 plays a 24.272. So a couple of good runs there, and you like we said, everybody got their time to feel the cars out yesterday under racing conditions, get built up to speed, and then really start to push the car. We saw Vardis do that exceptionally well yesterday, but even Prieto has found that pace this morning, and he's taken the fight to Alex Mayer, who won our pole position yesterday, the MPT Industries pole yesterday in the afternoon.
Now at the tail end of the field, we've got John Willamy, and I think it's worth noting that car took a pretty good shot to its front left suspension yesterday. So pretty safe to assume that they're still maybe feeling that one out. Obviously, they would have inspected it and looked it over and made sure nothing was bent. But you take a shot like that, you're probably still a little circumspect your first few laps around the circuit.
Prieto to pole, Joseph. The 43 Furman chassis of Shane Prieto, the first one to break the 124 barrier, drops a 123.143. Vardis comes across the line. He's done a 24.2.
No improvement.
No. I'm sorry, it was a 24.4. Right, so like you said, no improvement there, about 0.2 off his. Riley Harris jumps into third, a 124.272. So, had Prieto not just done a 23, we were going to have our top four within 2.5 of a second, roughly a quarter of a second, which is stunning, given the challenging conditions being the first session out on track this morning. But they've done a really, really nice job, all four of them bringing their cars up to pace. Fifth is Tim Pierce, a couple of seconds off of the pace at the moment. The number 81 has done a 129.9. Thomas Cadwalder, the number 39, a 132.1. Like we mentioned, this is his first time ever in a Formula 1000, not just this weekend at Mid-Ohio, but you're jumping into, the second fastest class of car on track, or, in attendance this weekend, and then you're, expected to jump right into the fire at Mid-Ohio, which is not an easy task. Steve Hamilton, the number 93, in seventh, a 133.9. And John Willamy, like you mentioned, a 138.1, but they're sort of feeling out that suspension after he took a pretty good whack in the left front suspension after a dive bomb yesterday down at turn 1 by a Formula Atlantic. On board with Alex Mayer, rounds turn 1 this time, Joseph. No brakes, no downshift into turn 1. Just a lift off the throttle, and he turned the car in. The grip was there, the downforce was there, and swung it right out. Really nice line through turn 1. On the throttle early at turn 2, right up against the red and white curb. It will upset the car a little bit. A little adverse camber on the inside curb there.
Yep. Meanwhile, Prieto's improved his time. It's a full, just under a second gap now to Vardis.
Yeah, Vardis is 123.9, so he's broken that 124 barrier as well. On the throttle again early for Mayer. He's looking up ahead of him where I think he might catch some traffic. I believe that's one of the Furman chassis of Shane Prieto. If he's catching Prieto here, that's a good sign. Could also be Willamy, the 31. Oh, big wiggle from Mayer. He's really on it this lap. And we'll come up behind turn 10. I think he's just going to get balked here on the way into the carousel. Whoever that is did catch his mirrors. So
31.
It is the 31, okay. Did look in his mirrors. Bump at the carousel on the rise, and as he comes across the line, it's a 123.1. So it is quicker.
Drops the gap to 0.2.
Yes.
To pole.
Oh, and a big wiggle at turn 1 there. That won't help his case this time around. But I guarantee you he lost more than 0.2 between turn 11 and the carousel coming up behind John Willamy, either through dirty air or through just getting caught behind the traffic. Prieto into the pits with 16 minutes gone. And not with any real gusto, it has to be said. I wonder if he's run that car out of fuel down through the pain to call it a day.
Well, I don't think that would be wise because we're only halfway through the session and the track is getting faster.
It is, unless they're going to throw some fuel in it and be done, but that car definitely doesn't have any power. He coasted into the pit lane and did not make it all the way to his pit area, which is interesting.
Yeah, it could be they're looking into the cockpit.
I would hope it's not an issue.
Yeah, I would. Well, they are pushing it.
I really wouldn't be shocked if he's just running out of fuel and decided he was going to push for one more lap because he saw the track was getting quicker, he was getting quicker, Mayer was getting quicker. And actually, Mayer's gotten quite a bit quicker, a 122.308. We crossed the start-finish line, and you'll see that time register on your race monitor screens on live timing, and that's put the gap up to almost 0.7 between Mayer and Prieto. Vardis still sits in third, the number 00. He's just gone back out on track to start another set of qualifying runs, and I think Prieto is done for the session. They pushed that car right behind the wall into the paddock.
I think that's Mayer overtaking Prieto. I don't think that's extending it. I think that's a change of position.
It was, and I should have clarified that, but it was Mayer getting quicker and quicker, now to the point that he's also quicker than Prieto, and has put himself on the provisional pole, like you mentioned, as the session sort of winds down. Now 7 minutes left before our checkered flag this morning, 18 minutes and 15 seconds elapsed. Vardis Harris, Cadwalder up into 5th in the number 39. He's down into the 29s. Tim Pierce into the 29s now as well, a 129.9. So just a tenth between himself and John Williams, up into 7th ahead of Steve Hamilton, both back in the 31-32 range. Incidentally, Alex Mayer's lap would be good enough for 4th on the Atlantic grid if we weren't doing split starts this weekend. So it's a good lap for Mayer. Prieto, I think, wouldn't be very far behind him. Mayer comes across the line again, and this time it's a 22.1. He's gone even quicker.
Yeah, the salient point about Mayer being about halfway up the Atlantic's grid is that they're only leaving about 15 seconds between the two grids during the split start procedure. So that'll put him, we're going to end up in a similar situation that we had yesterday, where the front end of the Formula 1000 field is going to catch up to the back of the Atlantic's field. And as we've mentioned, they're making their time in slightly different ways. So it's not impossible to see them trip each other up at times.
No, we noticed yesterday, and not to shed a little light on what happened down at turn 1, but Alex Mayer came up on the 31 of John Willoughby, who got tagged down there in the turn-in point for turn 1 by an Atlantic who was trying to move maybe a little too late. And, he was coming up to lap the Atlantic himself, never mind the other Formula 1000 of Willoughby. And I think your point is well made. That'll come into play sort of probably halfway through our 35-minute race this afternoon, or later this morning, I guess, as it is. It'll be interesting to see how that impacts the race. Yesterday, it wasn't too much because Mayer had already built himself up a 5.5-second gap or so. But I think this time, Prieto and Vardis, now that they've, like we said, got their feet under them a little bit and have found some pace and some consistency in those cars, I think are going to give Mayer a real run for his money from pole position this afternoon. And that traffic could play, a pretty substantial role in how our session plays out around 11:30 this afternoon.
That last lap from Mayer was a little on the slower side, so he may be revving back up for a fast lap. We'll keep an eye on him this next time by to see if he improves. Your prediction of 19 in this session, Brendan, does not appear to be panning out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, the ambient temperature was similar to yesterday, but I think it's just dirty. I think the track is a little too dirty and maybe a little too windy to get that sort of consistency out of these cars. These cars only weigh 800 pounds without the driver. So even with all that downforce, I think you're going to feel those movements. And they're long cars, too. I mean, you see the bodywork. Maybe it's just the proportions and how low they sit. But the nose cones just seem to kind of go on forever. You've got the big, long engine bay behind the driver in the chassis. Ooh, big lockup for one of the Atlantics there behind Alex Mayer, who comes through reasonably on the pace this time around. It's a 24.5. He's in behind Cadwalder. So this lap probably won't be anything to write home about either, but I'm not sure he's going to get another one. Our starter has the checkered flag in her right hand, just sort of tucked up under her shoulder.
Yeah, now
waiting for the timer to expire.
Yeah, now at 21 past the hour. We started this session at the top of the hour.
Yes. And it's a time certain. It is not time certain because the checkered flag falls on our next car to see it, which it was going to be one of the white F1000s here. I think.
And it will become the 66 Atlantic.
Yes. So session completed then. The 31 comes through. John Willoughby sets his best time of the afternoon.
By about 3 seconds.
Yeah, 1:32. Unfortunately, not good enough to improve his position, but it puts him within about 0.3 of a second of the 81 of Tim Pierce. So that's not a bad way to finish your session.
No.
Set yourself up for the race this afternoon.
No, it looks like we're in for a little bit of a two-pack race. By the way.
Vardis took pole. Vardis grabbed a 21.8 in the dying seconds of qualifying.
Well, here comes Mayer.
And Mayer's on it. I think he's had traffic this lap. He did a 23.3. Cadwalder crosses the line.
Does not
sits
improve.
Fifth. I think Vardis is done for the session. I think he's come through and taken the checkered flag.
Well, yeah, he has to be, yeah.
No, this will be Vardis again here coming through the carousel. He swings it wide and into the pit lane. So in the dying moments of qualifying 1 at 8:21 this morning, Nico Vardis snatches pole away at the very last second. A 121.889 gives him 0.2 up on the number 77 of Alex Mayer. 2 races this weekend, 2 different pole positions, 2 different front rows. Congratulations to Nico Vardis.
Yeah, that puts him 3rd in the overall standing. So again, something to look out for later today.
Yeah, after our race gets started, within a couple of laps there, I think you may see a little overlap between the F1000s and the Atlantics. That's a fantastic lap from Vardis. And I'll tell you what, Joseph, we saw that battle yesterday. You could see him sort of feel out where, A, his car was strong, where his pace was, but B, what Prieto was like and where his weaknesses were and how he could set up the move that sort of defined yesterday's race coverage on DriversEye Live. And I said at the time that I think once he got into clear air, he was going to really set after chasing Alex Mayer. I think that's reflected here. I think he's got the pace under him. I think he's got the car under him. And he spent...
Mayer, I don't think he's happy at all with how that session went.
No, I think he got held up or balked in traffic there. And either that or he was trying to keep heat in the tires, which I think is a possibility. But you could really see him kind of slide into his pit box there, a little frustrated or a little...
Yeah, he seemed pretty angry at pit in, too. It's one of those situations... He was talking about traffic yesterday, too, on the grid walk for race 1. And even though we had a green session the entire way through, I'm not sure he got a clean lap. Maybe the entire session, maybe 1 or 2. A lot of time was kind of lost by ever kind of finding their feet and scrubbing the track dry, or clean rather. So I think that might be a session of opportunities missed and some frustration, but that's why we run the races.
Indeed it is. I think we have Dustin Hodges, Right Turn Racing TV, down in the pit lane with our pole sitter for the MPT Industries pole position.
Guys, I'm not sure if you can hear me. We are live down here on the pit lane, and it is the MPT Industries pole position. It is the 00 of Nico Vardis on pole with a 121.3, and there goes that case of oil. Congratulations, team. Good job, Nico. Man, we know you know this track, man. Good job, pole position.
Yeah, man, it was fun out there, but there seemed to be some grip out there, so we didn't run any sticker tires this morning, so I think we got some more time out there.
Good job, and congratulations again, MPT pole position. Good luck this afternoon. Once again, Nico Vardis, your pole sitter for round 4 here from Mid-Ohio. And I'll throw it back up to you guys. Don't forget, we'll be back for a race here in just a little bit.
Thank you, Dustin. Interesting, nobody ran sticker tires this morning. You seem not quite so surprised by that, Joseph.
I don't know if I have a feeling for it either way.
I'll say this. If we're going to be first cars on track, first thing in the morning, it's a little chilly, it's a little windy, maybe you save your stickers for the race this afternoon knowing you're not going to get maximum grip out of the tires or out of the track conditions anyway. And you get what you can, and then you throw the stickers on for race 2 this afternoon, and you really push then.
Yeah, I think what that says is that the value for qualifying isn't quite the premium you might expect it to be, because if it were, there would be, I think, some temptation to go ahead and put that second set on and pull, maybe not a blinder, but sort of outmaneuver the other entries. The fact that nobody did it suggests that the clear strategy move is to basically run sticker tires for the race, which they're going to have 0 heat cycles on them. They're going to be brand spanking new, literally stickers on them. So everyone's going to basically have the best rubber underneath them when we take the green flag.
Yep, which means that we're going to get, I think, everybody's best this afternoon. And certainly we got Nico Vardis' best this morning. That 121.8, a really nice lap time. Just beating out a slightly annoyed Alex Mayer, I think is the word. We'll go talk to him down in the paddock and see if we can't find out what the situation is there. He didn't look happy.
Well, the one other angle with the tires, before we step on other classes here, is it is going to be a hotter day today than it was yesterday. So that might be another reason why new tires might be at a premium today.
That's a good point, and we're going to be racing in the heat of the early afternoon today. 11:40 is our green flag time. We'll be live shortly after 11:30, both on the DriversEye Live YouTube and our collection of Facebook pages, the North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPC. You can find us there, DriversEye Live. Give us a like and a follow on Facebook, and follow along there with our coverage, and of course, Right Turn Racing TV. Thanks to Dustin Hodges down in the pit lane. So qualifying 2 this weekend, done and dusted for round 4 of the 2021 North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPC. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. And like we said, we'll be back live shortly after 11:30 Eastern to send us off from our Mid-Ohio weekend in style, another 35-minute race to round things off for the F1000s. We'll see you there on YouTube and Facebook in just a couple of hours' time. Bye for now.